Sean Meyer here, digital content editor at Municipal World. We're here in Halifax at the 2024 Nova Scotia Federation of Municipalities Conference, speaking to engaged local leaders, such as my next guest here, who will get to introduce himself.
Hi there, Sean. My name is Cecil Clarke, and I'm the mayor of the Cape Breton Regional Municipality.
Nice. You're a busy man, Cecil. Why come back for this conference, which I know you enjoy?
Well, look, these types of conferences are essential just for the networking. What you can hear outside of your listeners may not get it, but there's a lot of buzz happening in the hallway. There's a lot of learning just over a coffee. People talk about lessons learned. What are they doing? How are they engaging? What are they thinking about where they want to take their direction, especially following a municipal election cycle.
Yep.
And there's all kinds of buzz here in Nova Scotia because we just came through a provincial election.
Yes, you did.
So the hallway chatter and the social time will be all about what happens next. And the other important thing about this is that the federal connections through the Federation of Canadian Municipalities, a lot of strong ties there about infrastructure, programming, green funds. So it's our local Nova Scotia and then into the national foray. So this is a great opportunity. And again, it's one of the few times you get to be with other people that live your world.
Yeah, absolutely.
That take those late night calls, that have to deal with, some, difficult situations at times in the council chamber and dealing with the public.
For sure.
But we have a passion for what we do and love it.
There's lots of municipalities of all sizes. Nova Scotia is no different than anyone else. Some of those municipalities don't have the resources, ones like yours might. So to be able to talk to a colleague from another municipality and say, how did you deal with that? It's almost invaluable.
And being a regional municipality, when I first started as mayor 12 years ago, the population was 97,000. We were hitting and trying to manage stopping decline. Now the population is upwards of 110,000 and growing. So we're in a growth phase, which brings its own challenges. But just like the other regional municipality or capital region, we have urban, suburban, and rural dynamics.
For sure.
So it really helps with councillors that come that are in a rural setting to talk to other rural councillors, for people that are in the urban, suburban world in terms of, subdivision development, bus routing, all those kinds of things. So it's a phenomenal sort of opportunity for us to stay connected as colleagues, but also to have a common front. Where are those commonalities? Where are the trends? How do you see it budgetary wise?
Sure.
The Cape Breton Regional Municipality is historically found, because of the economics of closures of industry, very difficult to manage as a regional municipality. But now, working with the provincial government, we're going to have a performance audit, a value for money audit, to legitimate some of the direction we need to take. Because as we grow, what are the needs? What are the relationships with the province, and how are we going to fund things? So this is a real exciting time for me. It's a very complicated one, but it really means at the end of the day, how do we provide better transit, water, sewer, roads, sidewalks, recreation, all the programming that municipalities are dedicated to doing.
Absolutely. Taking all those things into account, and you are, as we'll get into later, no neophyte at these conversations, but what do you see as the state of local government now that you're back in?
Well, we're coming through a time of change. Politics has changed. Having a 4-year break after losing election and then returning, you see things are different. Post-pandemic world is different. Society is different.
Absolutely.
Our commercial environment is different. And so how we deal with affordability pressures. Municipalities are facing the same things that people that are experiencing at a family level or individual. Those affordability challenges are finding their way to municipal units as well. And that comes to the tax rate and services that people look at and maintaining and having safer streets, police, fire. So the affordability discussion is one that comes in many forms, but it's one now that will expand in the coming months as the provincial government looks to its budget as a new government and renewed. But also, we're all going into our budget processes. So as new councils across Nova Scotia, a lot of faces have changed. Some have returned like I have. But at the same time, it really means there's a lot of work. There are going to be realities of always managing the expectation you can't do everything you want.
Yes.
So it's about finding that balance and making the best choices possible, given where we are at a point in time.
Speaking of those choices, some of them are problems that municipalities once upon a time never had to deal with. Housing, homelessness, drug addiction, mental health, all these things. You are one of the largest in this province, but you're not the biggest. Doesn't matter, they're small. They all have these problems. How do you, and let's face it, no matter your size, you don't have unlimited budgets.
Nope.
how do you contemplate solutions when you don't have the funding, when you don't necessarily have the people power to fix things? For somebody who got into this job because you wanted to make change, it can't be easy for you. So.
Well, the good things in life worth fighting for are never easy. And
Mhm.
so you really have to come at an approach of, I have to work my way through to solutions.
Mhm.
Through these problems, find a solution, find common ground, go at whether it's not just municipal affairs, it could be any number of departments to find some solutions infrastructure wise.
Sure.
One of the things, the Cape Breton Municipality had the largest wastewater deficiency in the country. And so when you start looking at, we still have $250 million of projects to do. They're unique to our municipality.
Mhm.
And so as a result of that, you have to negotiate differently to say, if we just do wastewater, we're not going to do roads and sidewalks and take care of parks. So it's all about relationship building. It's not only with other political leadership, but also the administration, the civil servants, very much having that, literally when you're in a small province like Nova Scotia, roll up your sleeves, get to, forge those relationships. And, no is in politics a temporary thing, but what's the alternative?
Mhm.
And when you look at alternatives, and sometimes it's about accepting something that's a next step, but it's not the outcome you wanted.
Yeah.
And ultimately in Nova Scotia, as I'm sure across Canada, one of the approaches I take is, can we agree with the objectives as to an outcome? Where do we want to arrive?
Right.
If we all agree on the outcome, the process that can get there, let's not get caught up on that.
Mm-hmm.
Because people get caught up in all these processes and talking about presenting a plan and get there and there's no money for it. We agree we want to have an outcome. And so I think a task-driven focus that is outcome-focused, because how Nova Scotia currently can manage within the fiscal realities they have with our municipalities is going to be different. The changing dynamic federally with a lot of infrastructure funds. So flexibility, focus on, do we agree on outcomes, and then find a way to move forward. And sometimes nowadays is you have to have a parking lot, but what can we move forward? And the public always want to see governments working together and attempting and really being sincere in getting outcomes that are solution based.
Sure. That is a lot to put on municipal leaders. Many of them, all of them are happy to do so, but there comes a point where we've seen increasingly, not just women, but municipal officials and staff members, quite frankly, getting out. Some people not staying to end of term, some people leaving jobs, you just can't handle the pressure of it, which ironically, you've now gotten back into that game. We'll get into that a little bit further, but I'm guessing you can understand why people say, no, that's enough, I'm out.
The thing that's really happened most recently, and it has been an intensity, and we talk about like civility and politeness. And so what's happening now in the age of social media, the impact on individuals, people saying whatever they want without, repercussion and or, accountability, that takes its toll on people. In your own family in a grocery store, someone's upset about an issue and they relay it on to tell you. So that can have an impact, and especially at a time when we need younger people as well to get engaged. Their family feel the impact. The children at school hear about their parents' involvement because it translates over. And so I think there's a changing dynamic that makes it difficult, yet we need citizens to be engaged in the public process and democracy. And we are in a challenging time. So those of us that have been committed to it, as I always said, they haven't come up with a dialysis yet to get politics out of your blood. So if you're in it and you're in it because it means something, then I always say the good people are worth fighting for. The good things are worth fighting for. And so you've got to put up with a lot of, quite frankly, crap to achieve outcomes that are for the public good and the betterment of your community and the vitality of it. And so I've come through, very tough fiscal times, making tough choices to do zero capital, to have to reduce debt by 25%, start off with zero reserve funds, and now build it up where we have, over 60 million and debt reduced, like I say, by 25% and the capacity to do more. So again, that's where time and the value of that time for people to see the leadership paying off for them.
Absolutely.
And the other piece is that, again, how do we provide the most amount of service and benefit for citizens and their at the tax dollar of keeping tax rates affordable? And that's what the big focus is going to be in the next 4 years, is dealing with all those big topics and still maintaining and asking for civility in that process. And so I really think we're at a time where it's challenged, but those of us that have been around have to encourage. I know in the hallways, I see all kinds of new faces that weren't there when I left 4 years ago, and that's refreshing. And the other value of conferences like this is that they can have other people to say, oh, you've got to put up with that. Just that, call it group therapy, over a coffee or over a cold beer, whatever the case may be. It's really about saying we all are in it for the right reasons and for the right purpose, and that is to serve our fellow citizens.
I feel like you almost answered this question. I'm going to be direct with it this time. For some reason, you decided, I was mayor for 8 years, I lost, I want to try again. Was it just the whole not being able to get politics out of your blood, or why did you want to come back?
No, it's interesting when you take stock of where you're at. Like when I look and I tell people, political loss isn't failure if you've learned something from it. And in politics, we all can make mistakes. We all have lessons learned. And if you have a passion for something, it's like someone that loses a hockey tournament. If they are truly committed to a sport, they're going to say, well, what went wrong? What could I have done better? How would I do things differently if I come back? That same public passion for me, I've been, quite frankly, a career politician now. But I grew up on the coattails of my grandfather, Cecil, who was a municipal politician.
Oh, wow.
So I learned early on about, when I'm going home and ask my mom, how come my grandfather uses a certain word when he gets frustrated with people? And she said, don't use that word around the house. Point is, I learned that you have to have a passion. And if you follow your passions in life, whether it is a talent in the arts or in business, or in the case of politics, public service, then you also accept that the negatives are far less than the positives of what you can achieve. So, that's part of my taking stock. I mean, people would say, why don't you run federally? Things, you have a political brand, and why don't you do that? And I said, but I can do more as mayor. That was a conscious decision of, making choices of which particular area of politics I would pursue. But being mayor, you can do more. At this phase of my life, I'm 55 now. I've got all kinds of energy to burn, but I have the experience that can have the best value in my community, for my community. And that's part of the legacy you leave. No one goes around and puts your stamp on the latest sidewalk or anything like that. Maybe some do, but I don't.
Well, yes.
But the point is, you do it because it's a good thing to do. And if you follow that passion, you'll find your direction of where you go. And some of it for other people that go out of politics is because they volunteer on a not-for-profit board. I've been on, community museums, nursing homes, providing advice for, volunteer housing for affordability. If you have that in your DNA to want to serve, there's all kinds of ways you can serve. Some people do it in the food bank, soup kitchen, their church.
Absolutely.
And it just so happens I found my way through politics, and doing a political comeback is never easy. And it defies a lot of odds, but it means you have to take that passion and put the effort in behind it. And so I'm hoping it'll pay off in the next 4 years for my fellow citizens.
And anyone who wins an elected office, I'm sure, feels an overwhelming sense of gratitude from the voter. But you had them say, nah, not him. And then say, yeah, him. What did it feel like that they gave you that vote of confidence to bring you back, that they thought you were the right guy?
What it tells me is people validate because what they also could see was the difference of what happened over the last 4 years. And people felt things were stalled and weren't happening. And so sometimes when people can be looking and saying, well, maybe we need a change. Because when you're in politics for any length of time, the narrative of it's time for change, it's time for new blood, it's time. And then what happened was okay, we need the experience. That the experience and the leadership is what we need to get through these concerns about affordability and sustainability as a community. And so that experience, I'm hoping, and like I say, the wisdom you learn, experience gives you wisdom. The question is, are you going to apply it to do better? And that's where I've put my energy and my focus. And I hope it provides gives a real dividend to the citizens of the CBRN.
Sounds like they're willing to give you the shot anyway.
And I'm willing to put the effort in.
That's a good message to end on. Thanks so much, Cecil. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.